James? Right.
Brian.
Brian, I'm sorry. You're the point person?
Yes.
One moment. We have you up here to start.
Yeah, there's no conflict. We've got.
All right, this court will now come to order. I'll rise. Session today, this court will hear in the case of Newton versus Thomas R. Klein High School. Please be seated and cease all conversations.
Good afternoon.
Let's start with the introduction of the teams.
Yes, Your Honor.
Plaintiffs first.
Good afternoon. My name is Rochelle Casement. That's spelled Casement. I'm here joined by my co-counsel.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Marco Granston.
Together, we represent the plaintiff in today's proceedings, the parents of Marique New-Barnes. We're team 108. Once the defense has had an opportunity to introduce themselves, we do have a few procedural matters as well as a few motions in limine.
Okay, thank you. Defense.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Trent Hollis, and today I am joined by my co-counsel.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Esteban Villanueva.
Your Honor, we have notices of appearances for yourself and the members of the jury, if my co-counsel may approach.
Any objection by plaintiff?
No objection.
Go ahead.
And Your Honor, do you have a clean copy of the case file?
I do. Oh, that's fine. Thank you. Here.
And Your Honor, we represent the defendant, Thomas R. Klein, in today's proceedings.
Great, thank you. And let's move on to pre-trial motions. We'll start with plaintiff's team.
Yes, Your Honor. By way of background, we've brought this negligence suit on behalf of a 14-year-old child who was paralyzed from the neck down. A year ago, the head coach of this defendant ordered that child to do a tush-push in a way we've never seen done before in the nation, having him go parallel and underneath the pile rather than overcut like we see in the NFL. So our contention today that just wasn't reasonable under the circumstances that this caused his injury. Now, we had a very productive meet and confer with opposing counsel prior to today. We were able to come to agreement as to one of our motions. Specifically, it involves Exhibit 2. Can I approach with a copy?
Yes.
Council has put us on notice that they are dropping the assumption of the risk affirmative defense, and thus they've agreed with us to completely exclude Exhibit 2.
And is that true, defense?
Yes, Your Honor, it is.
Okay, then exhibit 2 is excluded.
Yes, Your Honor. Now, for our next motion, which is contested, this goes to the defendant's head coach, Jackie Powell. At a prior deposition under oath, Jackie Powell lied about something and then admitted to that lie when they were confronted with proof of doing so. We'd just like to ask Your Honor's affirmative permission to be able to cross-examine Jackie Powell about that prior instance of lying under oath. Unlike in Pennsylvania, Federal Rule of Evidence 608B allows us to question a witness about acts that go to their character for truthfulness and untruthfulness. Credibility and character for untruthfulness are always at play, and thus we just like to ask your permission to do so.
And defense, what's your response to that?
Your Honor, as opposing counsel mentioned, while we understand that Federal Rule of Evidence 608B allows cross-examiners to question about the character for truthfulness, Your Honor, that rule still requires that the 403 balancing test be met. Your Honor, if I may provide additional context, Coach Jackie Powell was asked about a prior email that was sent to him by a parent of a football player, and that can be found in that case file you have on Exhibit 4. And if my co-counsel may approach with a copy of it, we'd love to provide it.
Thank you.
Your Honor, this email, as you can see at the top, was sent in 2021 by a parent of a football player, and this involved an instance where the player was allegedly denied water breaks by Coach Powell. Your Honor, this instance occurred 3 years before the events that arose as to why we are here. This was before the tush push was invented, before Coach Powell even became the head coach of the Thomas R. Klein football team. Should the jury hear this, there was this instance where a safety complaint was made, the jury would not be able to balance that thin line and use it only for impeachment purposes. They would use it for improper character purposes to show that Coach Powell had a general disregard for safety back in 2021. And he does again in this instance, Your Honor. As such, that 403 balancing test is not met, as the prejudicial effect substantially outweighs the probative value.
Your Honor, yes, of course. So opposing counsel, very respectfully, did just misstate 608B under the federal rules of evidence. It does not include that 403 balancing test. But addressing his other points, we do not intend to go into any kind of specific instances of conduct of not water breaks, aggressive character. That's not our intent today, and we will not be going into the contents of Exhibit 4. If I may make an offer of proof, we're simply going to be asking Jackie Powell if they lied under oath, in which they have to respond yes. We're not going to get into that complaint at all, but that act of lying under oath goes to their character for untruthfulness.
Your response.
Your Honor, to address that first part, the rule doesn't explicitly state that the 403 balancing test must be met. Under the federal rules of evidence, the 403 balancing test must be met for all evidence to be admitted into trial. And while specific instances might not be addressed, Your Honor, Jackie Powell, during their deposition, was confronted and impeached with this evidence of their dishonesty during that deposition. That deposition can't then be used for this trial to show the jury that Jackie Powell was being dishonest. Now, if Jackie Powell were to, on the stand today, testify incorrectly, we completely understand that they could then be impeached with that testimony. But to use an otherwise separate event, a deposition, to impeach him today would be improper, Your Honor.
So plaintiff's counsel, you're asking that Exhibit 4 be admitted in defense. You would prefer Exhibit 4 not be admitted.
Your Honor, a clarification. We're not asking that Exhibit 4 be admitted, and we don't intend to go into any of those contents in Exhibit 4. We put them on notice of this prior to today's proceedings. We're simply only going to be asking Jackie Powell about whether they lied under oath verbatim. That is all. They have to say yes to that, Your Honor. And because of that, that is an act that goes to their character for untruthfulness. And we're allowed to ask about that because they will be taking a witness stand today.
Okay. I appreciate the motion. I am going to not allow the question
Yes, Your Honor.
of the witnesses whether or not he lied under oath at a deposition.
Yes, Your Honor. Subject to the door being open potentially.
That is correct.
Yes.
If the door gets open, that's another issue entirely.
Yes, Your Honor. We're
Yes.
ready to proceed to our procedural matters.
Okay. Do you have any pretrial motions to defense?
Yes, Your Honor, we do have 3 motions, and we, after a fruitful conversation, pre-trial with opposing counsel, were able to come to an agreement on all 3 of those motions. So we just want to put those agreements on the record, for Your Honor. For our first motion, that was to exclude that 8 months after the accident, which took place, that we're here for, the National Football League voted to ban the quarterback sneak push in the NFL. And Your Honor, we've agreed to not mention that in today's trial.
Fine, yeah, it's because it's a subsequent meeting, right? Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And next matter?
Yes, Your Honor, and pursuant to the subsequent remedial measure, our second agreement was to exclude that specifically Thomas R. Klein High School did not allow or ban the use of the quarterback sneak push play after this accident. And we've agreed to exclude that as well, Your Honor.
Okay, and that's agreed to.
That's agreed.
And for our last motion, we have agreed to exclude any mention of Coach Jackie Powell's improper character evidence.
Yes, Your Honor, with a slight clarification, we will be reading in portions of the prior trial deposition of Marique Newberens, and there's one line in there which says that they yelled at Marique to get lower to the ground on the specific play that we're talking about today. We notified opposing counsel of that, and they agreed that that's fine to come in today, but we won't get into any other instances of yelling and throwing things and nothing of the sort.
Okay, so testimony about that yelling, it is allowed to come in today, is that
Yes,
correct?
Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's fine.
And with that, that concludes our motions, and we're ready to proceed to our procedural matters as well, Your Honor.
Okay, so procedural matters plaintiffs.
Yes, Your Honor, we were able to come to an agreement with opposing counsel as to the admissibility of a few exhibits. Can I say those numbers for you?
Yes.
Exhibit 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8A, and 10. With the court's permission, we'd like to move those into evidence now.
Okay, and no objection, defense counsel?
No objection, Your Honor. We'd just like to put the court on notice that exhibits 5 and 10 were stipulated pre-admitted due to the local rules of pretrial.
Okay, that's fine. So those exhibit numbers you just read off, they are admitted into evidence as of now.
Yes, Your Honor. We'd like to ask the court's permission to show what's just been admitted as Exhibit 1 in our opening statement. That's a photograph of Marie Warren. We notified opposing counsel of this, and they had no objection.
No objection, counsel.
Correct, Your Honor. We would similarly like to ask to use an enlargement of what's now in evidence as Exhibit 3, also an opening statement.
All right, plaintiff Stetson.
No objection to that.
That's fine. Vote to both of those, yes.
Next, Your Honor, we'd like to put the court on notice that we do intend reading those portions of Marie Nubarance's prior trial deposition. We've put opposing counsel on notice of those sections. They had no objection. We also intend on reading portions of Exhibit 5, which has been admitted in its entirety. And those are Marie Nubarance's medical or discharge records from the hospital.
Okay, that's correct. Is that-
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, those are admitted.
Yes, Your Honor. Next, we'd like to ask your permission to move about the well of the courtroom during openings, closings, examinations of witnesses.
Yes, and that goes for all four of the attorneys, permission to move about the well, to approach the bench, to approach the witness, to move with exhibits, that's fine. Also, I guess, at this time, I'll say it's okay if you want to ask the witness to come down from their seat to interact with an exhibit, that's allowed as well. And if attorneys need to move, to see what's being pointed at or that, feel free to do so.
Yes, Your Honor. We'd also like to know your preference for publishing exhibits. Should we ask to publish to the jury every single time? Or should we republish freely, noting for the record?
Just publish freely and note it for the record. And that goes for all four attorneys.
Yes, Your Honor. And finally, we just ask that all objection arguments be conducted constructively at sidebar, permitting counsel to remain at counsel table.
Yes, now for all competitors, yes, constructive side.
Yes, Your Honor. And with that, we're ready to go.
Okay. Defense, do you have any other pretrial
Yes, Your Honor.
issues?
We intend to offer expert testimony in today's proceedings. We would like to know whether you would prefer to tender those experts outside the presence of the jury, and whether you would like a formal tender of their area of expertise.
Would be strictly outside the presence of the juries, correct?
Yes.
We could do it that way, and then at the end of you're laying the foundation, you can ask if they are admitted or recognized as expert in whatever field. We'll do it that way.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, as the federal rules of evidence and the federal rules of civil procedure apply in today's proceedings, we ask to invoke Federal Rule of Evidence 615 and exclude or sequester plaintiff's witness Al Cooney from the courtroom today constructively.
Yes, and that's any objection. Plaintiffs?
No objection to that.
Witnesses can be constructively sequestered, that's fine.
Yes, Your Honor. And on that note, just to clarify, this does not apply to Jackie Powell, as we have designated Jackie Powell as the party representative for the defendant in today's proceeding.
Okay, counsel.
Yes, Your Honor, that's totally fine with us, but just a clarification, we do have two experts in this case, and pursuant to Rule 615C, we'd like to ask that they stay in the courtroom today during the proceedings.
Right, do you have any problem with that, defense?
No, Your Honor.
Then those are fine.
Yes.
We'll do it that way. Any other pretrial issues?
That concludes all of our preliminary matters, Your Honor.
Okay, and you guys are plaintiffs, okay?
Yes, Your Honor, we're ready to proceed.
Great, then, we will go ahead and do so. You have a moment. Okay, move on to opening statements now. Plaintiffs' counsel,
Yes, Your Honor.
you can begin whenever you're ready.
On July 1st, 2024, two employees of this defendant, coaches for the freshman football team, met to plan the next season. And when they met, they did not meet in a classroom or in the athletic office or with chalkboards or game films. They met in a bar. And it is that meeting that brings us all here today. Because the results of that meeting would jeopardize the life of one of their young players. During that meeting over drinks, this defendant decided to adopt an NFL play, the tush push. It was a play that just 2 months earlier, Pennsylvania had announced would be banned the upcoming season. Not only that, but this defendant would run it differently than they do it in the NFL. Instead, they would turn their quarterback into a human spirit, going straight at and under the defense instead of over the top like the pros do. This defendant didn't question whether there were risks involved with this change play. What were the dangers of this change play? Or simply, whether there was too much for kids. Just 2 months later, they turned one of their young players, a 5'2", 109-pound quarterback, into the human spirit, with players pushing his head from behind into a wall of defenders, each twice his size. Can you imagine what happened next? That young player, that was Marie Nubar, and he was paralyzed. It is on his behalf that his parents have brought this negligence case, a claim that says this defendant and its employees failed to act as a reasonable person would in the same circumstances, and that their failure caused Marie injury. Put more simply, we will prove to you that this defendant valued the gain of a yard or two over Marie's safety. Now, how will you know that? It starts with the tush push. It's a play you may have heard of. Our very own Philadelphia Eagles had great success with it. But the Eagles, they're professionals. They're big and strong, well-trained, and able to do it safely. But that is not the same for ninth grade kids. In fact, the Pennsylvania Athletic Association told every school in this Commonwealth that this play would be banned going forward. That an offensive player cannot push, pull, or lift a runner to assist his forward progress. Exactly what the tush push does. Again, this defendant didn't ask why the play was being banned. And then comes August. And Marie is picked as quarterback. Again, this defendant told Marie to do their own version of the tush push. They told Marie to do something different, something dangerous. Instead of staying upright, where if you get hit is here, they told Marie to bend lower and lower and lower, with your head, chest, and neck parallel and your chin tucked in. This play is run maybe 4 times. And at the end of one of these plays during a game, the assistant coach sees Marie grimacing and grabbing his back. The assistant coach says nothing. He does nothing. And just 5 days later, Marie Lubarens will play football for the last time. Because on September 9th, Marie does exactly what his coach told him to do. He gets low. His head down, chin tucked. The ball is snapped, and his teammates push him from behind. The top of his head slams into the player in front of him. The defenders pile on Marie's back. He feels a jolt like an explosion down his spine. At the end of the play, there are 5 or 6 players on top of Marie's body. And when they get off him, Marie lays there. You will hear from those coaches. And they will have to admit everything I've just told you. But science and medicine will also tell you how these defendants failed.
that when they put Marik in that position, with his spine exposed to hits and players piling on top, they failed to keep Marik safe. You will learn that from Dr. Kensington Carter, a sports medicine expert who works with high school and college kids. And Dr. Carter will tell you what the spine is and how the spine works, and how this defendant's change play too much pressure on young Marik's spine. But there will be more. You will hear from the expert, a school hunter, a person you will learn makes their living testifying for defendants who are being sued. And even they will have to admit that they would not have run the play this way. That kids' spines, they're weaker. Members of the jury, an NFL coach's job may be to win. A college coach's job may be to win and continue educating the players. If the coach of freshmen, ninth grade kids, their job is to teach, to train, to develop, and most importantly, to keep the kids safe. It has been 1 year since Marik's last play. And this defendant has not once said that we're sorry, that we could have done better. Instead, they said they've done nothing wrong. Members of the jury, the defendant changed this play. And the danger is in that difference. That is why at the end of this case, my co-counsel, case man, she'll stand before you. And she will ask you to return a verdict that tells this defendant that you could have done better, that you should have done better. The only verdict in line with the facts and the evidence in this case. We ask that you find this defendant liable. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. That's your opening whenever you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. May it please the court, counsel. Members of the jury. What happened to Marie New Lawrence is a tragedy. And we understand why Marie's parents are devastated and looking to hold somebody responsible for that tragedy. But sometimes a tragedy is just that, a tragedy. Sometimes there just isn't anyone to blame because today's knowledge cannot be yesterday's lesson. On September 9th, 2024, the freshmen of the Thomas Klein High School football team lined up to run a play that players, fans, and coaches see often, all across the country. A play that has been run over 300 times in the NFL, hundreds of times at the college level, and as you'll learn today, all without injury to the quarterback. And the players were excited. It was a new year, a new season, a new team, and they were ready to play some football. They were ready to try and win some games. They wanted to be like the Philadelphia Eagles. The coaches implemented a play that had become famous in recent years, a play that contributed to the Eagles' Super Bowl win. This was a simple, yet effective, short yardage push to gain just 1 yard. The QB sneak push, where the quarterback lines up behind the center, takes the ball, the play begins, and instead of dropping back for a pass or handing the ball off to the running back, the quarterback keeps the ball for himself and pushes forward while getting a push from his teammates to gain that 1 yard. It was a play that nobody expected to be so much more dangerous than any other football play. The coaches of the Thomas Klein High School freshman football team, they had no reason to believe that just one day, September 9th, would be different than any other time that this play had been run. But in an instant, tragedy struck. But today's knowledge, it can't be yesterday's lesson. In bringing this claim of negligence, the plaintiff took on the burden of proving that it is more likely true than not. Coach Powell, as an agent of Thomas Klein High School, failed to act as a reasonable football coach would have in the same circumstances. More specifically, they must prove that Coach Powell and the coaches, they breached a duty to keep Marique safe, caused Marique's injuries, and that it was reasonably expected that this severe of an injury could occur from running this 1 yard play. But members of the jury, the evidence will show that no injury to the quarterback, no injury to a spine of any player had ever occurred from this 1 yard play before. You will learn today that it was not reasonably expected for this severe of an injury to occur from this 1 yard play being run at the 9th grade level. Because today's knowledge is not yesterday's lesson. And that will be confirmed today by the coach's actions and the expert analysis that you will hear from. Now, I'd like to first start with the coach's actions. Introduce you to Coach Jackie Powell. Powell, please stand up. This is Jackie Powell, the freshman football coach of the Thomas Klein High School, who's been a football coach for about 10 years. And you'll hear from Mr. Powell today how and why he modified the quarterback sneak push to keep his players safe. Thank you, Mr. Powell. Now, the plaintiff, they talked a lot about the quarterback sneak push. But members of the jury, I'd like to show it to you. This is the quarterback sneak push, how Coach Powell ran it. You will learn today, you will hear from Coach Powell, that this is a 1 yard play where the quarterback lines up behind the center and pushes around the center to dive forward and get that 1 yard. You'll hear that Marique is smaller than other players, smaller than the NFL and college players that would run this in the upright position going forward. So Coach Powell modified this play. You'll hear that Coach Powell had Marique get low, get parallel to the ground, dive around the center, not into the back of the center, and dive forward to get that 1. And you will hear that the PAA, the Pennsylvania Athletic Association, they considered this play. And they did eventually implement a ban. But what plaintiff failed to mention, and that what you will learn today, is that the PAA decided to wait an entire year to ban this play. The organization charged with implementing rules and regulations protecting the safety of the players decided that, yes, they would ban this play. But I think this could wait. And the reasonableness of Coach Powell designing and implementing this play will be confirmed today by expert medical testimony. Members of the jury, we and the plaintiff will both call expert medical doctors to the stand that specialize in sports medicine and spinal injuries. And yes, they will disagree on some things. But pay attention today to what they will agree on. They'll agree that this play, it was a low speed, short yardage, 1 yard push that actually carries less force than other football plays. Now, not only that, but you will hear that these players, these 9th graders, Marique himself, smaller, they weigh less, the force, the impact of their tackles is less than the levels of the NCAA and the NFL. Levels where you'll learn today there has never been an injury to the quarterback from this play. You'll learn that there has never been a spinal injury to any player from this play, let alone a spinal injury to the quarterback. Today's knowledge, members of the jury, cannot be yesterday's lesson. We can't give Marique back what he lost. We can't undo this tragedy. And even though we deeply sympathize with Marique, with his family, as the judge will instruct you at the end of this trial, liability, it can't be based on sympathy. The plaintiff has the burden to prove that Thomas Klein High School, for the actions of their agent, Coach Jackie Powell, was negligent. It was reasonably expected that this severe of an injury could occur from this one-yard play. But they won't be able to do that today. And that's why at the end of this trial, my co-counsel will come up and ask you to return a verdict of not liable.
Thank you. Give us a moment for scoring, please. You may call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Before we call our first live witness, we'd like to read in those portions of Marique Nuberance's prior trial deposition, as well as sections of his medical records.
Any defense, any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay,
Permission for my co-counsel to take the stand so we can read in those questions and answers.
That's fine.
May we assume that the jury's been instructed as to the nature of an unavailable witness deposition?
Yes, let's do that.
We'll begin with the prior trial deposition of Marique Nubarance. How old are you?
I just turned 15.
What experience did you have playing football before you got to Klein?
I played flag football league as a 5th and 6th grader. I went to 2 years of football summer camp and played Pop Warner tag football in 7th and 8th grades.
Tell the jury everything Coach Powell told you to do on August 20th when you practiced the quarterback sneak push.
Coach Powell showed me a picture of Jalen Hurts and said I should be much lower, knees bent with my face and torso parallel to the ground.
How did you feel after you ran the play at practice on August 20th?
I was getting drilled on my back. It hurt. I didn't say anything to Coach Powell. Coach Powell always says, every week is grip week. The best players play through injuries.
What happened when you ran the quarterback sneak push against Robert Little?
We lost a yard the only time we ran it. I ended up on the bottom of a pile of 6 players.
What did Coach Powell say to you after the quarterback sneak push against Robert Little?
Coach Powell screamed at me and said I wasn't doing what Coach Powell told me to do. Coach Powell threatened to replace me.
And what happened when you practiced the quarterback sneak push on September 9th?
I ran the play just like Coach Powell told me. I felt multiple players hit me on my neck and back. I felt a jolt down my spine, like an explosion. I couldn't move my arms or legs. Our trainer and coaches rushed to the field. An ambulance took me to the hospital.
Thank you. That concludes our reading of the trial deposition of Marique Nubarance. Permission for co-counsel to sit down.
Thank you both.
We'll now be reading sections off of the City of Brotherly Love Hospital Marique Nubarance's discharge summary. Date of admission, September 9th, 2024. Date of discharge, November 10th, 2024. At discharge, he remains quadriplegic. With that, we're prepared to call our first witness.
Okay, please call your first witness.
Your Honor, at this time, plaintiffs call Al Clooney to the stand.
And for all witnesses are assumed to have been 3 sworn. I'm not sure if we addressed that pre-trial.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
My name is Al Clooney.
Mr. Clooney, where were you working in the summer of 2024?
I was working at Tom Klein High.
And what did you do at Plant High?
I was a teacher and I was also the offensive coordinator for the football team.
Your Honor, approaching the closing counsel, what has been remarked as exhibit 1 is also pre-admitted, Your Honor. Please approach.
Okay.
Right. Your Honor, permission to have the witness publish exhibit 1 to the jury.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Louis, who is that?
This is Marik Barnes.
How do you know him?
He was a student of mine. He was a quarterback for our team.
When was the last time you saw Marie Lawrence in that uniform?
September 9th, 2024.
And why was that the last time you saw him?
He never played football again after the last time.
What happened on September 9th?
He got hurt running the QB sneak push.
And what is that?
That's a play designed for short yardage situations where the quarterback is getting pushed from behind from other players so that he can break through into the defensive zone and get a first down.
Who was responsible for deciding which plays flag football ran?
Our head coach, Jackie Powell.
Oh. What happened on September 9th when the play began?
We were running practices like usual, and we started running short yardage situations. And Coach Powell told Rick that he wanted him to run the QB push in the modified position that Coach Powell asked for.
And what happened after the play started?
Marik got low to the ground, chest parallel to the ground, chin tucked in, and he was pushed into the offensive line.
After Marie was pushed, what did Marie do next?
Shot his legs, tried to move forward, and the defense jumped on top of him, and he came on the bottom of a dog pile.
How many players were on top of Marie?
It had to be 5 or 6.
When you saw that there were 5 or 6 players on top of Marie, what did you do?
Well, I was waiting for them all to get off. It's football. It's just how the game goes. And then I saw that Marik wasn't moving.
Was Marie speaking?
He wasn't speaking.
So what did you do when you realized he was unable to move?
When I realized Marik was unable to move, I called 911.
Thank you. So you mentioned this, you can put exhibit 1 down. So you mentioned the tush push play. Who came up with the idea to bring the tush push play to Klein High School?
Head coach, Jackie Powell.
When did Jackie Powell come up with this idea?
It was July 1st when we had a coach's meeting.
What were you discussing at this meeting?
We were talking about making our team better and what plays we were going to be running this upcoming year.
And how were the previous seasons?
Not good. We were pretty bad. We were 9-1 for the past 2 seasons.
How did the discussion about the tush push arise in this meeting?
Coach Powell said that he wanted us to have a winning play, and he got the idea from watching the Eagles.
And when Coach Powell expressed his interest in bringing this play to Klein High School, what was your reaction?
I didn't want to do it.
Why not?
I thought the play was dangerous. I didn't want to have such a high impact play for our young players.
Did you tell Coach Powell about your concerns?
I did.
And what was Coach Powell's response?
Well, he said that if other teams weren't going to use this play, that they were just jealous and that we were going to win with it like the Eagles did.
What was the final decision leaving that meeting?
Coach Powell decided that we were going to use the tush push.
I want the jury to get a better understanding of how the tush push play works. I'm showing opposing counsel what has been pre-marked and pre-admitted at Exhibit 8A.
Okay.
And permission to have the witness step down and make use of an enlargement of Exhibit 3 also, Your Honor.
That's fine.
Coach Clooney, what is Exhibit 3?
So this is a basic diagram of the QB sneak push. On the bottom here is going to be the offense. This circle right underneath the square is the quarterback.
Okay. Now, where is this demonstration from?
This is from our playbook that we give to the high school teammates.
What happens when the play begins?
So the square here, the center snaps the ball to the quarterback. And the quarterback's job is to get real low and go into the gap created and break into the line.
Looking at exhibit A, what is that?
This is a picture of the Eagles running the QB sneak push.
Permission to publish exhibit A as well?
That's fine.
And no, the way we see the Eagles set up here, is that the same way Coach Paul ran it at high school?
No. As you can see here, the man with Hertz on his back is the QB. He's the one that's the circle here. And the way that the Eagles run it is he's not low to the ground. Right here, Jalen Hurts would be going just about the same height as the other players, but the way that Coach Powell wanted it to be run was for Marik's chest to be parallel to the ground and his chin to be tucked in, so the top of his head was running directly into all of the other players.
So going back to exhibit 3, what are these triangles? What are they?
That's the defense. All of them are pushing against the opposite direction,
And these 3 circles are doing what?
pushing the quarterback forward towards where those defenses.
Thank you. You may proceed. Coach Clooney, have there been discussions about the tush push play at the high school level across America?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor, speculation and lack of personal knowledge.
Response?
Your Honor, if I'm improper, this witness knows that this play was banned in several other states, and he has direct knowledge of that. It's not speculation, Your Honor.
Council response?
I would just ask the question be rephrased. It's overly broad. It is impossible for this witness to have knowledge about what high school teams are doing all over the country, Your Honor.
I'm gonna overrule the objection, but you can certainly explore this on cross examinations.
Yes, Your Honor.
Council may proceed. Ask the question again.
Okay. Now, had there been discussions about the tush push play at the high school level across the country?
Yes.
And what were those discussions?
It was talked about being banned.
What do you mean specifically?
Some people across the state were banning, apologies, across the country were banning these plays. I was made abreast of this by my athletic director.
You said some people. Were there any athletic governing bodies that were implementing that?
Yes, the NFH.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance.
Response?
Yes, Your Honor, this is relevant because the witness is going to testify, if I'm improper again, that he received an email from the athletic director that went out to all the coaches that informed them that the NFHS Rule 9-1 would be implemented in Pennsylvania the following year. No, this case is about the reasonableness of Coach Powell implementing the tush push while being on notice that this play was going to be banned.
Your response?
Your Honor, the NFHS is not a governing body over Pennsylvania high school football. The various states, the NFHS is an advisory body that can issue advisory rules, and the states get to choose what rules to adopt. The PAA, the Pennsylvania Athletic Association, their decisions would be relevant in today's proceedings. But the NFHS, whatever rules that they may suggest are irrelevant here.
May I respond, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor. Speaking towards the PAA, the rules governing Pennsylvania, they were going to adopt this specific rule from the NFHS for the upcoming season.
Okay, and offer proof, is there going to be testimony to that effect?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I will overrule the objection. You may proceed.
Yes, Your Honor.
Oh, how did you know about this NFHS ban?
Our athletic director had sent myself and our head coach an email regarding this NFHS ban.
And what did it say about Pennsylvania and this NFHS ban?
It said that the next season, not the one that we're going into, not the 2024 season, but in the 2025 season, that the Pennsylvania Athletic Association would be adopting the NFHS's rule and disallowing plays where any player is pushed forward for 4 products.
When did you tell Coach Powell about Pennsylvania adopting this rule?
On July 1st, when we had our coaches meeting.
And what was Coach Powell's response?
He said he wanted us to have that play that would help us win. That he wanted us to use a play where we could have a human battering.
Now, before we get to Coach Powell's change play, now, when did you express these concerns to Coach Powell about the ban coming in, and what was his response?
It was on July 1st when we were first talking about this ban. And he responded by saying that that's a ban for next season. It's not next season yet.
Did Coach Powell ever tell you why he designed his play differently than we see the professionals do?
I don't recall.
Would seeing a copy of your deposition refresh your memory?
Yes, I believe so.
Objection to profession.
No, Your Honor.
Permitted to program?
Please.
No. 160 and 117 probably to yourself. Professional regulations look up. Did that help?
Yes, it did.
I'll re-ask the question. Now, did Coach Powell ever tell you why he designed his play differently?
Yes, he believed that he could use Marique, quarterback, as a human battering ram, so that way it would be easier for other players to push him forward.
As far as you know, when did Coach Powell conduct research to determine whether or not his change to the play was safe?
As far as I know, he did.
As far as you know, when did Coach Powell speak with an athletic director to determine whether or not his change to the play was safe?
As far as I know, he did.
How many times had Coach Powell practiced this version of the tush push before Marie got hurt?
We practiced it 3 times and we ran it once in game.
Can you tell us about those 3 times during practice? Was Marie able to position himself with Coach Powell?
He was not able to position himself how Coach Powell liked. His head was not, or apologies, his chest was not parallel to the ground, and his chin was not tucked in like Coach Powell wanted.
Was Marie hurt during those practices?
No, he was not.
So you mentioned you ran it 4 times. When was the other time?
It was on a game, September 5th.
What happened when Marie ran it in the game?
He actually was unsuccessful with that. And he ran it the exact same way he did in practice. Not parallel, not tucked in.
How was Marie after the play?
I saw him kind of grimacing, so I walked up to him and I asked him if he was okay, and he said he would be okay for the next try.
On September 9th, how was Marie positioned?
On September 9th, he was positioned how Coach Powell wanted. That time, his chest was parallel to the ground and his chin was tucked in.
And why was Marie positioned that way?
Because he was trying to be a human battering ram like Coach Powell wanted.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Defense cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor.
Whenever you're ready.
Your Honor, the witness to collect the exhibits.
Apologies.
That's okay, counsel.
Thank you, brother.
But when you're aware that the quarterback sneak push, it's run at the NFL level
Yes,
and at the college level.
I believe so.
And you are not aware of any injury to the quarterback from the quarterback sneak push.
Not to my knowledge.
You're certainly not aware of any spinal injury to any player from the quarterback sneak.
Not that I know.
Coach Clooney, you wouldn't do something to put one of your players in danger because you care about your players.
Yes, I did.
And you wouldn't help run a play that you thought would paralyze one of your players.
That's true.
Now, Mr. Clooney, you just testified that you thought the play was dangerous
Yes,
because you didn't want such a high impact play for your players.
that is true.
And you were present at all the practices when this play was run,
Yes,
as well as the game on September 5th.
yes,
You never refused to help coach this play.
that's right. It's not my decision.
Just to be clear, you were the offensive coordinator.
Yes,
the individual in charge of the offense.
To an extent, yeah,
You never demanded that this play be banned.
that's right. It's not my decision.
You never went to Coach Powell's boss, athletic director,
No, I do not.
and raised your concerns about player safety to him.
No, just to Coach Powell on July 1st.
Just that one time to Coach Powell,
Yeah,
while out at a bar,
correct.
having some drinks. But then you never raised your concern to Coach Powell ever again.
Correct.
You never called Marique's parents to say, hey, I'm worried about your son running this play.
That's true.
You never reported this to the PAA, the organization charged with player safety.
No, they made their decision already.
Now, you helped prepare the playbook in the 2024 season,
I did,
which included the quarterback sneak push.
unfortunately.
And you would recognize that if you saw it here today.
Yes.
Your Honor, publishing by way of enlargement with supporting evidence as exhibit 3. Tony, this is the quarterback sneak push
Playbook.
that was in your playbook the 2024 season.
Yes.
I know you went over it on direct, but I'd like to clarify just a couple of things.
Sure.
The triangles of the defense, yes?
Yes.
With the center in the middle of the board, that is a square in the middle of the board, pardon. That is the center,
Yeah, he snaps the ball to the quarterback.
and the quarterback is the circle directly behind that center.
Yes.
And the 3 circles on either side of this square, the center, that makes up the offensive lineman,
Correct.
with the entire offensive line being the 6 circles on each side of the square, as well as the square.
Yes.
And these 3 circles that are behind the quarterback or below on the board, those are the players that push the quarterback forward.
Yes.
And the lines that are coming out of all of these offensive players, that depicts movement, correct?
Yes.
How the play is designed.
Yes.
With this arrow specifically, the one that's coming out of the quarterback here, that depicts the quarterback with the ball moving.
Yes, and there.
That's, again, how it's designed to be run.
Yes.
It's designed for the quarterback to take the ball from the center,
Yes.
to push forward
Mhm.
in between the center and the offensive lineman to his left.
Yes.
And these 3 horizontal lines here, that's around the line of scrimmage, correct?
About.
And the line of scrimmage, that's where the ball starts.
Yeah.
And this line here, where just above those 3 horizontal lines, where another horizontal line intersects with the arrow, that's the 1 yard that this play is designed to gain.
It's more like that's where we believe that the play will stop. It's only for short yardage situations.
This play is to gain just about 1 yard, correct, Coach Clooney?
1-2 yards, yeah.
It is considered to be a short yardage push.
Yes.
And Marique's job as the quarterback was to dive forward to gain that 1 yard.
To be pushed for.
While he was also diving, though, yes.
In as far as he could.
Now, we can agree that this is not how the Philadelphia Eagles run this play.
No, that you're not running like this.
Because Coach Cooney, we can agree that Marique and ninth graders are not Philadelphia Eagles.
No, he was not.
They're a lot smaller than the Eagles.
Correct.
They can be a lot weaker than NFL players.
Yes.
And from your understanding as the offensive coordinator, that's why Coach Powell had Marique get low.
As far as I believe, I guess.
And to avoid going directly into the center's back, to avoid getting hit over the top.
I believe so.
So Marique could get low,
Yes.
dive forward,
Push forward, dive.
while diving while being pushed,
Yeah.
to gain that 1, maybe 2 yard.
Yes.
No other questions, Your Honor?
Thank you, counsel. Finance chair, you redirect.
Not based on that, Your Honor.
Okay, then the witness may step out back. Thanks to, wish to call your second witness.
Yes, Your Honor, we call Dr. Kensington Cotter. And just should I grab the exhibit really quick?
That's fine.
May I proceed?
Mary, you're ready. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Kensington Cotter.
What do you do for a living?
I am an attending sports medicine physician at Cedars-Sinai Health Institute, Los Angeles. I also am the attending team physician for the UCLA athletics program, including the football team.
Dr. Cotter, have you come to court today prepared to give your opinions within a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to whether the defendant's conduct caused Marique's injuries?
Yes,
Before we get into that opinion, I want to know what qualifies you to give it. Doctor, so we all know, what is sports medicine?
sports medicine is a branch of medicine that is focused on the treatment and prevention of injuries that folks get from playing sports, physical activity.
How many years have you worked in that field?
I'm over a decade now, so I'm coming up on my 11th year.
What degrees do you hold?
For undergrad, I went to University of California at Berkeley. I got a degree in biology. And when it was time for med school, I went to UCLA.
Do you have any certifications?
Yes, I am board certified in family medicine, and I have a certificate of added qualification in sports medicine.
How many patients have you treated with cervical spine injuries and fractures?
I wouldn't be able to give you an exact number. It's in the hundreds at this point.
Does that include children and teenagers?
Yes, about 10% of my sports medicine practice is with folks who are over the age of 80.
And in terms of spinal injuries and this push play that we've been hearing about, have you read for other doctors to learn from?
I authored an article on the risks that are inherent in tush push that was published in the American Journal of Sports Medicine after passing peer review in April 2024.
Have you been hired as an expert before?
I have, but I was not asked to come in and testify. So this is my first time actually in a court.
What materials did you review in order to come to your conclusions as to whether their conduct caused Marique's injuries?
I reviewed the stipulations between the parties. I reviewed the exhibits. I also reviewed the depositions.
Did you have enough information to come to that opinion?
Yes,
Did you use a reliable methodology?
yes, I applied the principles of sports medicine that I use in my practice every day to the facts of the case.
And will your opinions today reflect a reliable application of those principles and methods to the facts of this case?
Yes,
Your Honor, we offer Dr. Cotter as an expert in sports medicine, spinal injuries, and sports medicine as applied to teenage athletes.
And defense, is there any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, this witness, I'm sorry, this court recognizes this witness is an expert witness on the subjects you just identified. Please
Yes.
proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. The jury's heard that Marique had a spinal injury. What does the spine do?
spine's what allows us to be human, mobile, keeps us upright, allows us to bend our backs, and in turn protects our spinal cords as well.
Is the spine the same in an adult as it is for a teenager?
No, it's not. There's a necessary difference in that teenagers are still developing, their bodies are still growing. Adults are done with that. So teenage spines are inherently weaker than those of an adult.
Approaching with what's already been admitted as Exhibit 7.
Okay.
Here you go, Doctor. So this might seem like an obvious question, but could you just tell the jury what we're looking at here?
This is a model of the spine.
And what are all of these bones that we see going down the spine?
Sure. The individual bones that you see here are what we call vertebrae. They're stacked together between discs here that allow us to be mobile, bend.
Using this model, please point out where Marique's spine is injured.
Marique sustained a fracture up here at what's known as the C4 vertebrae.
And when the spine is fractured way up there at C4, what does it do to the rest of the body?
The rest of the body is immobilized below the point of that fracture. It's what we know as paralysis.
I'll take that back from you. Dr. Hughes, testified that children and teens have weaker spines, making them more susceptible to injury. Does the defense's doctor, Dr. Adams, agree with you?
Yes, of course.
And we know that people in the NFL tend to be bigger guys. What about Marique in this case?
Let's see. Pre-season, when Marique was measured in weight, he stood 5'2" tall, and he weighed in at about 110 pounds.
I want to talk more about this play that the defendant designed and implemented at practice, republishing that enlargement of Exhibit 3. Can you see this, doctor? The jury asserted that this is the setup of the tush push. We've all seen the Eagles have quite some success with this. Is the way that the defendant ran this play the same way we see teams like the Eagles do?
No, they changed it.
How they change it?
Well, they had Marique get much lower to the ground than you see NFL quarterbacks run this. They wanted his head, chest, and neck parallel to the ground.
Could you show that to the jury?
Yes.
Permission for Dr. Cotter to step down?
Granted.
So doctor, please show the jury how the quarterback is normally set up when they do the push in the NFL.
Sure. So when we see quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts do it, they get down to take the snap, and they're kind of in a crouched position with their head and their neck upright, cervical spine flexed. Then they receive the snap, push forward themselves, get pushed forward by their teammates, and they go into the pile at a higher angle.
Indicating for the record that Dr. Cotter has gotten into a crouched position with head and neck flex. So doctor, show us how the defendant made that different.
Sure. So I'll explain it and you can do the motion.
Of course.
So Jalen Hurts, Marique's still getting ready for the snap the same exact way. He's still receiving the ball into his chest the same way. But the way that the defendant changed it was that they instructed Marique to tuck his chin to his chest, to lower his back there until he was parallel to the ground, and then they drove him into the pile that way, head first.
Indicating for the record that I've been moved to a spot where my head, neck, and torso are parallel to the ground, chin tucked chest. Doctor, is positioning and head first completely parallel to the ground in the way I just was dangerous?
Yes, of course.
Republishing Exhibit 7. Using this model, could you show us why that is so dangerous for freshman football?
Sure. So typically in the NFL, like we just discussed with Jalen Hurts, you'll see players taking hits from the front, right? They're running forward, they get hit, maybe they get hit from the side. It's much more rare for players' backs and spines to be directly exposed to possibility of hits like Marique's was here. When he was parallel to the ground, it left his neck and spine open to direct hits. You don't see that usually.
I'll take that from you. And let's go to Exhibit 3. You mentioned that Marique, right here, getting pushed from these 3 guys behind. Is there any other force that Marique was experiencing on this play?
Yes, I mean, you only see on the diagram the arrows going in Marique force, but the triangles here, the defense still trying to do their job, and they don't want the offense to gain that yard. They're pushing back against that offensive line. And when you get that resistance force going this way, you've got concurrent forces going against Marique.
So is that resistance force also a risk?
Yes, anytime you've got forces acting in opposite directions on the same part of the body, that's an increased risk for injury.
Thank you. You can retake your seat. Now, when this play is run in the NFL, where's the quarterback supposed to end up within the pile?
Well, you see the quarterback typically end up toward the top. You get pushed over the top by his teammates while the offensive line tries to cut out the legs of the defense.
In the way the defendant designed this play, where was Marique supposed to end up?
The play was designed so that Marique was going to end up at the bottom of the pile.
On September 9th, where did Marique end up in the pile?
He was at the bottom.
You said he'd be underneath players like linemen. Were you in the court during opening statements?
Yes,
Did you hear opposing counsel say that the play was fine because the kids weighed less?
I did hear that.
Tell the jury how big the offensive and defensive line on Klein's freshman football team was.
For the same preseason measurements, the average offensive or defensive lineman at Klein High School was standing 5'10", and they were weighing in at about 200 pounds.
Were you in the courtroom today when Coach Clooney said how many people were on top of Marique?
Yes,
How many people?
that was 5 or 6 to Clooney's knowledge.
Oh, What did the head coach of this defendant say they wanted the people behind Marique to do to him once the ball was snapped?
Based on my review, Coach Powell said that he wanted those three players to drive Marie through the line like a spear.
And just so we're clear, where was Marique's head pressed against during this play?
Pressed against the back of the center, which is the offensive lineman who snaps the ball.
Now, as a sports medicine expert, is this human spear play used at any level of football, NFL, high school, or college?
No, that I've ever seen or heard of. Of
Is a human spear play dangerous for freshman football?
course,
Is it what caused Marique to become paralyzed?
yes.
And what did the head coach of this defendant say about Marique's setup on that play that left him paralyzed?
Based on my review, when Jackie Powell was talking about Marie's setup on September 9th, he said that he ran it perfectly exactly as he coached him.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you, Councilman.
Do you want me to move that away?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Defense cross-examination. Yes, you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Carter, I want to talk about some of the research that you did for this play. And you mentioned on direct examination that you wrote an article about the medical risks of the quarterback sneak push play.
Yes,
In that article, you mentioned that this play was popularized by the Philadelphia Eagles.
yes.
That it was an effective.
As the Eagles ran it, sure.
This article was mainly about the medical risks associated.
Right.
So in doing research for this play, you actually looked for football players that have been injured.
That was part of it.
And you only found 2 football players.
That had been injured as a result of the push itself.
Now, and just to clarify, the tush push and the quarterback sneak push play are the same play.
Yeah.
And one of those football players was injured to their arm.
Yeah, John Michael Schmitz, the Giants center.
One of those was injured to his knee.
Daniel Bellinger, Giants tight end, same play, MCL.
Now, you mentioned that one of those players was a center and the other was a tight end. We can agree that neither of these players were quarterbacks.
Yeah, certainly.
In fact, you're aware that as of today, this play, the quarterback sneak push, has been run hundreds of times in the NFL,
Yes,
hundreds of times in the NCAA as well.
it's true.
And in the hundreds of times that this play has been used, there's been 0 injuries to a quarterback.
Yeah, not on the sneak push the way the Eagles run it, definitely not.
There's also been 0 injuries in the player's spine.
Yeah, the Eagles ran it, no.
You mentioned as the Eagles run it, but to clarify, both the way that the Eagles run this play and the way that our Klein football's team ran it, both plays involved the quarterback being pushed.
Both plays involve the quarterback being pushed.
Both plays were used in short yardage situations.
Sure.
Both plays involved the quarterback going for a gain of generally 1 yard.
Yes,
Now, doctor, actually, in coming to your conclusion in this, you don't recommend this play be banned.
I think the team should be careful and consider the risks inherent in the play before they allow it to be run.
Now, doctor, to clarify, that's not recommending ban, correct?
No, I don't think I'm qualified to recommend a ban. I'm a sports medicine doctor. I was just writing about the risks.
Now, doctor, you weren't qualified to recommend a ban at the professional level?
No, again, I'm a sports medicine doctor. I don't work for any of the governing boards or anything that set rules.
Well, you mentioned you're a team doctor for UCLA. You didn't recommend a ban at the collegiate level as well.
Objection, Your Honor. This is irrelevant.
Response?
Your Honor, maybe approach.
Well, this is try to sidebar this one. Go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor. This goes directly to the witness's credibility, and credibility is always relevant, Your Honor.
Your Honor, asking this witness about whether they've recommended a ban at every single level of football doesn't go to their credibility. We know that the PAA sets rules for Pennsylvania, that the NFHS rules, sets that national standard. Those are the only 2 rules that we need, Your Honor. The fact that this witness hasn't recommended bans as a sports medicine doctor who treats spinal injuries, it doesn't go to their credibility. It doesn't make any fact more or less probable.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
Your Honor, this witness spent their entire direct examination stating that the use of this play was not safe and it was unreasonable. Being able to hear, the jury being able to hear that he didn't recommend a ban is directly relevant to his testimony today and to his credibility as a witness.
Your Honor, if I may briefly, if that was what Dr. Cotter actually did for a living, I'd agree that goes to their credibility. They spend all of their time treating patients at a large medical institute, and they treat patients as part of the UCLA attending physician for the football team and other sports teams. It's not part of this witness's practice regularly to recommend bans. So it doesn't go to their credibility.
Okay, the objection is sustained, so Council, you can move on.
Motion to strike.
And motion to strike.
Doctor, you stated on direct examination, high school players running this play was inherently dangerous.
Yes, their spines are weaker, so if you're gonna put them in a situation to run into something with their head down, it's a more dangerous situation than if you do that with an adult.
But we can agree that these ninth graders are still able to play football.
Not Marie.
Well, doctor, we can agree that before this accident, and generally that ninth graders are still able to play football.
I'm sure.
They're able to play tackle football at that.
Yes.
In fact, your son even plays tackle football at the high school level.
Yes.
Doctor, you mentioned that this play had been banned for the 2025 season in Pennsylvania.
Yes.
The Pennsylvania Athletic Association issued a ban.
Yes.
Now, they determined the rules and safety in the state of Pennsylvania.
That's true.
Although the ban went into effect in 2025, they voted on that ban in May of 2024.
Right, that was a month after my article came out.
This was also before the 2024 season,
Right.
meaning that the Pennsylvania Athletic Association, they could have banned this play in 2020,
They could have banned the push, sure.
but they didn't.
Objection, Your Honor, on the scope of this witness's expertise.
Response.
Your Honor, this witness reviewed all of the exhibits when coming to their opinion, including the ban that was in Pennsylvania at the time, or that is currently in place, and had been voted on at the time of this accident. Them being able to testify to this goes directly to the reasonableness of this play, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. Opposing counsel is asking this witness to speculate as to what that committee could have done the year prior, or discussions that were going on at the time. That's beyond their expertise as a sports medicine doctor. We know that that ban was coming into effect in the 2025 season. There's no need to speculate about discussions the year or two prior.
Response.
Your Honor, this witness was hired as an expert witness to testify to the reasonableness of this play. That includes the reasonableness of the governing body's decision to wait to ban this play, Your Honor.
Your Honor,
They have knowledge of this.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
They're here to testify to their opinions regarding causation of Marique's injuries, in that the spine was in a position that would increase the load on their neck and on their head and on their back. They're not here to testify today about committee rulings in the year or two prior leading up to this season. We know that that ban was going to come into effect and that the coaches knew about it, but there's no need to have this witness speculate about those discussions.
Your Honor, if I may briefly.
Briefly.
Your Honor, this was testimony that was included in the report that this doctor gave and provided to the plaintiff's counsel.
Okay, the objection is sustained. Council, you can move on.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, doctor, you are aware that even when this ban went into effect, the penalty for violating that ban is going to be a $5.
I don't remember that.
Doctor, you are testifying here today as an expert, correct?
Yes.
You're aware of the rule to ban this.
Yeah, just said I don't remember what the penalty was, that's all.
Well, you did review the NFHS guidelines.
Yes.
You're aware that the NFHS had set guidelines for the penalty.
Yes, I just don't remember what they were.
Understand, doctor. Now, you also wrote in your report that you believe that Thomas R. Klein High School didn't practice this play enough. You believe that Coach Powell and the freshman football team should have done this play more for it to be safe.
No, not necessarily. I think that there's a lot of ways, of course, to practice something, right? The Eagles walk through it, they talk about it all the time, talk about the physics, they prepare off the field. There's other ways to do things other than just physically running it. I think that they should have certainly practiced more, but that doesn't necessarily mean they should have just done more, more live reps.
You are aware that the coaches of Thomas R. Klein High School did provide each and every one of their players with a copy of the play.
Providing your player a single sheet of the play is pretty standard. That's not the same as practicing it.
Doctor, I'm not asking whether they practice it, I'm asking whether they provided their players with the copy of the play. And that they did, correct?
The team gave their players a copy of the playbook, yes.
They also talked through this play with Marique.
Once, yes.
You're aware that they gave detailed instructions to how they wanted Marique's body positioned during this.
Yes, head tucked to chest, parallel to the ground, like we talked about on direct.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Plaintiffs, any redirect?
Redirect, Your Honor.
That's fine, whenever you're ready.
Doctor, you were asked about no injuries occurring on the tush push in the NFL. Has anyone in the NFL ever run the play the way the defendant ran this play?
No, not to my knowledge.
How about in college?
No,
How about in high school?
no.
No further questions.
Okay, any redirect defense? Counsel, any recross defense?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, let's finish it then. It's a moment for scoring, please. Okay, and plaintiffs, do you have any for witness?
Plaintiff rests, Your Honor.
Okay, are there any motions at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense moves for a judgment as a matter of law pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 50A. Even when viewing the evidence in the light most favorable to the non-moving party, the plaintiff has failed to put forth evidence in which a reasonable jury could find that Coach Powell and the coaches of Thomas R. Klein High School were acting unreasonably. Now, specifically, we've heard testimony from Coach Al Clooney, who was the offensive coordinator at the time, that although today they claim that this play was dangerous, that it shouldn't have been run, back in 2024 when this play was being run, this coach had no objection to this play being run and only made one objection that was at a bar over drinks. Additionally, Your Honor, we've heard from the plaintiff's own expert witness that this play has been run hundreds of times in the NFL and hundreds of times at the collegiate level, all without a single injury to any quarterback, to any player's spine. Given that the jury has seen and heard this evidence, no reasonable jury could find in favor of the plaintiff that Coach Powell or Thomas R. Klein High School breached their duty to keep Marique safe. And as such, we ask the court grant our motion.
Okay, plaintiffs, any response to that motion?
Yes, Your Honor, we heard testimony from both the former employee of Thomas Klein, Al Clooney, and the expert, Dr. Carter, that it was the positioning of Marique's body during the tush push play that called for his head being put down and his body being parallel that led to Marique's injury. That establishes causation, and a reasonable jury could find that the defendant's decision to put Marique in that position, having done no research, and not relying on any information, that it was negligent, Your Honor.
Okay, the motion for the judgment as a matter of law is denied. And with that, we will take a brief 5 or 6 minute break.
Yes.
And we'll come back with the defense case in chief.
Yes, Your
Your
Honor.
Honor, may we have a time check, please? I'm sure.
The plaintiff has 29 minutes and 29 seconds remaining. The defense has 39 minutes and 9 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Not familiar. Then we nice to show. Okay, yeah, I thought. I do, sure. Both are very.
Oh, yeah, we probably cross paths here.
Probably, I remember the last time, well, last year I was here, then the purple goes.
I might send you that. Yeah, I'm just developing. Insurance defense, you said?
Yeah. Oh, it's in house, yeah.
Yeah.
Ready now?
Now I got a small fence from.
Yeah.
I see Jim every now and then.
Every now and then, it's treat usually, or
Yeah.
in court.
Yeah. Are you still doing that court?
Yes, I am.
Did you see, we had a case in there this week, right? Did you see Greg? Or
I did, yeah.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah. Yeah,
Still struggling to
yeah,
get through the program.
so many of them do, but
Yeah.
it's kind of a push-pull kind of thing, and you just try to get.
Right, yeah.
Get them there. Right. This is what I'm saying. Get it through, you know what I mean? Yeah, right. Okay, so. Yeah, every so often happen.
How long have you been at DH?
It's almost 20 years.
Of course.
We're gonna have 1 more years.
Yeah. Have you seen Judge Duke's videos?
I appreciate that.
I saw you there during the.
So like, my wife sends to me Instagram these videos. Really, it's entertaining and it's a good message. She's like, dude, it's just. It's going to see.
But not.
Where.
Does it look like everybody is back?
One
Let me see a judge. Let me see a judge. Back now, at this point, we can proceed with the defense case in chief. Bench, may call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Jackie Powell.
Okay. Never ready.
Good afternoon. Could you please turn and introduce yourself for the members of the jury?
Sure thing. Afternoon, I'm Jackie Powell.
And Mr. Powell, what do you do for work?
I'm the freshman head coach over at Klein High School.
And about for how long have you been a football coach?
I've been the head coach for about 2 years, been the defensive coordinator before that, and then the position coach before that. So quite a,
Coach Powell, why do you coach football?
I mean, basically at this point, football's in my blood. My dad was a coach, my older brother was a coach, I've got family of coaches, my name actually allowed in the house.
Mr. Powell, were you the coach at Thomas Klein High School freshman team at the time of Marie Barnes' injury?
I was.
And were you the coach that drew up the quarterback sneak push play in your playbook?
I was.
And would you recognize that play if you saw it here today?
Yes, sir, I would.
And would it assist your testimony to step down into the well and interact with an enlargement of that?
It would.
Would you please do so? Having the witness step down into the well while publishing what's already in evidence as Exhibit 3.
That's fine.
Mr. Powell, I'm going to have you stand right next to this, and we're going to walk through. I'll be back here. Coach Powell, could you very simply tell us what we're looking at here?
Right, so basically what this is a page out of our playbook. These triangles represent the defenders on the other team. The square of these circles represent our team on offense, what we plan for them to do.
Let the record reflect that Mr. Powell has identified the triangles in the top half of the page as the defense and the circles and square on the bottom half as the offense. What is the play called, Coach Powell?
It's called the quarterback sneak push.
And did you name this for your team anything else?
For our team, we called it the Marique sneak because our quarterback, his name was Marique.
And what is the purpose of the quarterback sneak push for our Marines team?
So a play like this is designed to get short yards. It's a 3rd and 1, a 4th and goal. It's when you need to get 1 or 2.
And did you come up with the quarterback sneak push or the Marine sneak all by yourself?
No, sir, not all by myself.
Where did you get the inspiration for this play?
So family's a big Birds fan. So the tush push that they ran in the Super Bowl, it's basically the same play.
And did you have your freshmen run this version the same way that the Eagles do?
No, sir, not exactly.
Could you show members of the jury on the board what exactly changed from the way the Eagles run it?
Of course. So what's different about this play is how we have the quarterback in the center of play. See, our kid's in Kelsey, so we don't have that big wall in front of us. For us, because Maurice was so small, we had him cut through the side here while pushing up and behind.
And what's the arrow that's on that board there?
This is the direction that Maurice was going to be going once the ball was snapped.
You've been in the courtroom all day today. Do you remember hearing how Marique's head went into the back of the center on September 9th?
Yes.
Is that how you designed this play?
No, what we see here is the play is designed to be pushed up by the three people behind him through the side, like it was through the line.
And did you make any modifications to Marique's position when running the quarterback sneak push?
Yes, sir, I did.
What modifications are those?
So instead of running it the way Hurts runs it straight up, he's a big guy, Maurice's not. So we had him get lower so he would avoid getting hit as much.
And what does size have to do with whether Marique could or could not run this play like the Eagles did?
Well, when you're watching it on TV, you can't tell as easily, but those are big guys. 6 foot, 6'1", 6'2". Maurice's 5'2", 110 pounds soaking wet. We didn't want him to get hurt, so we had him get lower to avoid those big hits.
Thank you, Mr. Powell. You can have a seat. Mr. Powell, did anybody ever raise or did anybody raise concerns to you about the quarterback sneak push?
No,
You've been in the courtroom today. Do you remember hearing that Al Clooney told you that this play was dangerous?
I remember that, yes.
In your experience, do you remember personally that interaction between the two of you?
No, the first time Al and I talked about the play last July, it was his idea as we were watching the game. I asked him if it was safe. He said it was okay. We made the decision together.
And did you have any safety concerns from that point on about running this play at the 9th grade level?
Nothing besides Maurice's size.
Mr. Powell, were you ever aware of a quarterback being hurt at any level from the quarterback sneak push?
No, I wasn't.
Were you aware of any spinal injury to any player from the quarterback sneak push?
No, sir.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, Counsel.
Your Honor, before proceeding across, I'd like to re-raise that objection that we brought to you pre-trial about Coach Powell's prior instance of lying under oath. We believe the door's been opened. Coach Powell just testified that things that were said on Al Clooney's direct examination aren't truthful. Now this calls into question the ability and the character for untruthfulness of Coach Powell. I should be able to question them as such under federal rule of evidence, 608B. It's a different rule than Pennsylvania standard. It allows us to question on acts that go to their character for untruthfulness.
Defense your response.
Your Honor, that Mr. Powell's testimony did not open the door to the truthfulness of prior safety concerns raised by parents. Your Honor, the issue during the deposition where Mr. Powell was untruthful was regarding a safety complaint from a parent of Thomas Klein High School. This issue here is something completely different that did not open the door to raising that issue.
Your Honor, briefly,
Sure.
it opened the door because it goes to their character to be a truth teller or not. We do not intend to bring up that there was actually a complaint raised against them. We don't believe that that's been opened. We're not going to talk about the complaint. But we should be able to question them about whether they've lied under an oath to tell the truth before, because they've called into question Al Clooney's truthfulness.
Your Honor, this witness was just testifying to his personal experience and what he heard today throughout trial. This did not open the door to any truthfulness issues.
Okay. I'm going to overrule the objection.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you may proceed with the cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Coach Powell, the first responsibility of a freshman football coach is to keep the children safe, right?
Absolutely.
Reed was one of those children,
He was.
pretty small compared to the rest of your team,
That's right.
and you were the head coach.
That's right.
You were the decision maker.
Yes, I had final say over the plays. We all come up with it together.
You made the call to run that play on September 9th.
We did.
Marie ran it exactly as you planned it.
That's correct.
And when he did, he was paralyzed.
That's right.
The decision to run that play came from a meeting that happened on July 1st, right?
Yes, the me now.
And that meeting didn't happen at school,
No, ma'am.
didn't happen in a coach's office.
Okay.
It happened at a bar over drinks.
Al and I were at Wicked Wolf down the road.
Now, you were in the room for your lawyer's opening statement.
That's right.
You heard them say 4 times, today's knowledge can't be yesterday's lesson, right?
I heard that. Yes, ma'am.
That's not true, right?
You'll have to explain.
When you were sitting at that bar on July 1st, you had some knowledge before you picked that play, right?
You'll have to be more specific. I hope I had some knowledge.
Coach Powell, I'll be more specific. Sitting at that bar, you knew that no other team at your high school had ever done this play before.
No, the varsity team and JV teams didn't run.
You knew that no other high school in the entire country had done it before.
Not that I knew of.
And 2 months before that, you got an email.
Y'all be more specific.
Of course, I'll be more specific. You got an email in May saying that starting in 2025, the player wouldn't be able to push the runner their forward progress.
Yes, ma'am. We had an email saying that this was the last season that this play would be run.
Still picked a pushing play, even though it was going to be banned.
Right. It was the last season it would be allowed.
Okay, when you picked that play, you didn't get a reply on that email saying they were going to be banned soon to ask why.
No.
And your school, it has varsity coaches, correct?
Right. There's a head coach of varsity, JV, and then me, the freshman head coach.
Then you have athletic trainers, right?
That's correct.
You have athletic directors.
Correct.
Didn't go up to any of those coaches and say, hey, you know why they're going to ban pushing plays in less than a year?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Didn't go up to the athletic trainer and ask.
No, I did not.
Didn't go up to the athletic director and ask.
No, ma'am.
You didn't even do a single Google search.
No, ma'am. I just chose to run the play and agreed with that.
The way you ran that play, well, it isn't exactly the same way we've seen people in the NFL, right?
No, ma'am.
You made a change.
That's right.
You made it different.
We did.
And every single time you ran that play, you told Marique to get lower and lower and lower to the ground, right?
That's correct, because we didn't want him to take the hits like Jalen Hurts was taking.
So you kept telling him to get lower.
Yes.
And on September 9th, he was finally low enough for your liking.
Yes, he was parallel to the ground.
Coach, you were working with 14-year-old children, correct?
I was.
14-year-old children are not as experienced as the pros are, right?
No, they're not.
They're also a lot smaller.
That's correct. All the players in the field are smaller than the professionals.
Republishing Exhibit 1.
Okay,
This is Marique, right?
It is.
5'2",
Yes,
109 pounds when soaking wet. Those were your words, right?
that's correct.
Now, in the way that the NFL runs this play, quarterback is usually upright, right?
Yes,
They crowd serve towards the top of the pile, right?
that's right.
And the way you design the play, Marique would be going under, right?
That's right. He couldn't get over the center.
September 9th, you saw 5 to 6 people on top of this child's back, right?
Yes,
Or you had him go under, you had his head, neck, and torso parallel to the ground.
that's correct.
His chin was tucked into his chest.
Yes, ma'am.
3 players pushed him from behind
That's correct.
so he could be driven straight through the line.
Yes, just to get 1 or 2 yards.
In your words, to make him a spear.
Yes.
Nothing further.
thank you, Kyle. Defense, is there any redirect?
Yes, sir.
Whenever you're ready.
Coach Powell, you were just asked on direct about why you didn't go up to the athletic trainer and ask about this play. On September 9th, was the athletic trainer at practice?
She was.
Coach Powell, why exactly did you have Marique get low and parallel?
Objection, Your Honor. Asked and answered on direct examination.
Counsel, your response.
Your Honor, while this testimony was elicited from this witness on direct examination, this specific verbiage was not asked, and I did not ask specifically why he was parallel and low, but exactly why he was not able to go up and up.
Your Honor, Briefly,
Briefly.
they use that exhibit for 3 to 5 minutes to explain why they tried to do this for safety reasons. We've already heard this.
Okay, I'm going to overrule the objection. We have that question.
Mr. Powell, why did you have Marique get parallel to the ground and low?
It was a strategic choice for his safety. He's a small kid. He's not Jalen Hurts. The smaller lower to the ground you can get, the less hits he's going to take.
No further questions, Your Honor. May this witness return to council table.
Thank you, defendant recross.
No recross.
Okay, witness, may step down. Thank you. Give us a moment, please. And defense, do you have another witness to call?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls Dr. Omega.
All right. Counsel may begin whenever you're ready.
Yes, Your Honor. Good. Could you please turn and introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Omega Adams.
And Dr. Adams, what is your connection to this case?
I was hired by the defendant to look into whether or not the actions by Thomas R. Klein High School's coaching staff was reasonable and whether it contributed to the injury Marique Barnes sustained on September 9th.
Now, before we get into that opinion, well, I want the members of the jury to get a chance to know you. Now, you mentioned you're a doctor. What type of doctor are you?
I'm a board certified neurosurgeon
Where did you go to medical school?
at the University of Alabama, Birmingham.
After you finished medical school, did you do a residency or a fellowship?
Yes, I actually did. I did my residency in neurosurgery, and then I did my fellowship in complex spine and neurotrauma.
Now, after completing those things, what did you do?
Well, in 2008, after I completed those, I began working at an neurosurgeon at the University of Alabama Hospital. And I started my own consulting firm in 2019 as well, Consultants LLC.
You mentioned you're an attending neurosurgeon. What type of things does an attending neurosurgeon do on a day-to-day basis?
For the most part, I supervise the residents and the fellows in the hospital, and then I also complete my own surgeries on occasion as well.
Now, you also mentioned that you own a consulting business. Do you mainly consult plaintiffs or defendants?
Defendants.
How is your time split between those two jobs?
It's about 90-10. So I do about 90% of my work with my company, and then I do 10% of my work at the hospital.
Now, Dr. Adams, are you familiar with anyone in the courtroom today?
Yes, I am. Jackie Powell is a former patient of mine and someone who's become a friend over the years.
Now, you mentioned that you have experience working with spinal injuries. About how many patients have you treated with those types of injuries?
Well over 1,000.
And of those over 1,000, do you know how many were football players?
9.
Now, what material did you review when coming to your opinion?
I reviewed all of the material available in this case, so that would be all of the depositions, transcripts, Dr. Cotter's analysis report, and I compared it to my own experience in the field.
Now, this material, would this be the types of facts, data that someone in your position would rely on when coming to their opinion in a case like this?
Yes.
And did you apply the standard principles and methods of the medical field?
Yes.
And is your opinion based on a reasonable degree of medical certainty?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Constructively, yes.
Yes, Your Honor. The defense tenders Dr. Omega Adams as an expert in cervical spine injuries and their causes.
Okay, and plaintiffs, is there any objection?
Yes, Your Honor. Just the phrase "and their causes" is very broad and ambiguous. I would like it to be a little more specific.
Defense?
Your Honor, this expert has testified that they have experience working with cervical spine injuries and are able to treat and diagnose the causes of such injuries. This is well within their expertise and it should be tendered as such, Your Honor.
Your response?
Yes, Your Honor. As the plaintiff's tender was an expert in how these injuries come about, generally speaking, there's no specificity as it relates to the issues at issue in this case. So the phrase as it relates to issues with the sign, it's just very broad, Your Honor. It doesn't tell us what this guy's an actual expert in.
Okay, I'm actually going to overrule the objection, and this witness is recognized by this board as an expert in the subjects you just specified. May proceed.
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Adams, what is your opinion in this case?
My opinion is that the decisions made by the coaching staff at Thomas R. Klein, including the position that the quarterback sneak push was run, did not increase Marie Vargas's likelihood of being injured because of this play.
Why not, Doctor?
Well, ultimately, it comes down to the impact forces that are involved on this play. This play had lower impact force, and thus the likelihood of injury was reduced.
Now, you mentioned this play had a low impact force. Can you describe to the members of the jury what exactly impact force is?
Yeah, of course. It's ultimately just a calculation of weight times speed. So you take the weight of the players involved and the speed that they're moving at to get the impact force.
I want to break down your analysis using that calculation, starting with the weight of the players. What did you see when looking at the weight of the players in this play?
Well, we're dealing with players who are generally a lot lighter than other levels of football. So at the NFL, college level, even at other high school levels, those players are going to be heavier than you would get on a ninth grade football team.
Dr. Adams, have you been in the courtroom all day today?
Yes, I have.
Did you hear testimony that Marique was even smaller than the average football player on that team?
Yes, I did. I heard that testimony, and while Marie is smaller than the average football player, he wasn't so small that he couldn't beat or play in a ninth grade football, or that he couldn't run this play.
We've also heard testimony that these ninth graders' spines are underdeveloped. Do you agree with this?
Yes, and their spines are underdeveloped. We're talking about ninth graders here at the end of the day. But if their spines are not so underdeveloped that they can't play contact sports. If that were the case, then we wouldn't have ninth grade football teams in the first place.
I want to move to the other side of that calculation that you mentioned, the speed of this play. How did that factor into your opinion?
Well, we're talking about a play where the players are generally bunched together. They aren't spread out across the field with a lot of room to kind of build up that momentum that you would see on a high impact force play.
What is a high impact force play?
That would be something like a kickoff or a punt, maybe a pass down the field, something where there's more open field and more room for the players to build up speed and momentum going into their tackle.
And we've also heard that there were modifications made to this play by Coach Powell. Was the positioning of the quarterback in those modifications reasonable?
Yes, it absolutely was. Based on everything that I reviewed in the file, the purpose for having the quarterback get into that position was to have him get lower and avoid those head-on collisions and collisions that you would see with the way that this play is going. Everything that I saw indicated that this player was supposed to get lower.
What about the fact that Marique was being pushed by his teammates? Did that make this play any more unsafe?
No, as a matter of fact, the pushing aspect of this is the one thing that is pretty universal regardless of which level or which team you're talking about. The pushing aspect of this is found pretty much everywhere.
Now, you mentioned that it's pretty universal. In your review of the material, does every team run the quarterback sneak push play the exact same way?
No, based on what I reviewed, teams differ in how they exactly run this play. I saw their plays by the New York Giants and the Eagles, for example, at the NFL professional level, where they all have slight differences in how they'll run this play.
We also heard that the way that this was used in a high school was different than the way it's used in the NFL. In your review, did you find any high schools that were using the quarterback sneak push?
Yes, I did. There were 2 high schools in Texas that were running this play.
Doctor, were you aware that this play was going to be banned in Pennsylvania?
Yes, I am aware of that.
Are you aware of what the suggested penalty when that ban was in effect was going to be?
Yes.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Your response, counsel?
Your Honor, the suggested ban by the Pennsylvania Athletic Association, or the ban, I should say, that was put in place by the Pennsylvania Athletic Association, the governing body for sports in Pennsylvania, goes directly to the reasonableness of the use of this play that this witness reviewed and has knowledge of.
Your Honor, respectfully, opposing counsel just asked this expert about the penalty of not complying with the ban. It has no bearing on this witness's testimony, and it has no relevance in the case. The penalty for violating the ban is not relevant, Your Honor.
Your Honor, if I may.
Yes.
If I may proffer, this witness will testify that this ban that was going to go into effect had a penalty of 5 yards. Given that the Pennsylvania Athletic Association oversees the safety of these players, use of this play, which opposing counsel claims is unreasonable, only carried a 5-yard penalty, making it relevant to today's proceedings and for the jury to hear. They can understand the use and the reasonableness of the use of this play.
Okay, I'm going to overrule the objection on that question. You proceed. Ask the question again.
Now, Dr. Adams, were you aware of the penalty that was going to be put in place once this ban went into effect?
Yes, I was. The penalty was a 5-yard penalty, so it was just a 15 feet, or penalty of 15 feet essentially.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you, counsel. Plaintiff's cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Good afternoon.
Doctor, you just spent a lot of time talking about football, right?
Yes.
Doctor, you don't coach, do you?
No,
I don't. Sorry, my apologies. You don't have any certificates in coaching.
no, I'm a big fan of that though.
You didn't go to school for coaching.
No.
So you disagree with Dr. Carter that this play was unreasonable.
Yes.
I want to talk about some things that you and Dr. Carter agree on. Teenagers are weaker spine.
Yes, they did.
Teenagers' spines are more susceptible to injury.
Yes.
And you would agree with me that spines are important, right? And spinal injuries, they can be severe.
Yes.
No, you just testified on direct examination that this defendant's play was safe because the player was small, right?
That was one of the things I considered. Yes, play was reasonable.
That the players were small and people in the NFL.
Yes, of course.
The average defensive and offensive lineman on the defendant's team, they were 5'10", right?
Yes.
And they were 200 pounds.
Yes, based on what I saw.
But Marie, he was much smaller than that.
He was.
Marie was 5'2",
Yes.
109 pounds.
Yes. From what I saw, that's why they modified it to have the player go low and avoid contact.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, the way this defendant designed this play, Marie would be moving towards those offensive linemen and defensive linemen with his head down, right?
Yes, to get to the ground as quickly as possible.
And on September 9th, there were 5 or 6 players on top of Marie.
There was.
That's hundreds and hundreds of pounds on top of Marie's body.
Yes.
So you also testified on direct examination that there were 2 high schools that ran the tush push play,
Yes, there was.
but you cannot tell this jury how many times the schools have ran it.
No.
And as you know, Doctor, those schools, their quarterback weren't as small as Marie.
Not what I saw.
And as far as you know, Doctor, those high schools ran it the way they do in the NFL,
Yes.
with the quarterback upright,
Yes.
pro surfing to the top of the pile.
Yes.
Not the way that this defendant did.
Yes.
Not with the quarterback's head and chest parallel to the ground.
Correct.
Not with the quarterback acting as a human sphere.
Correct.
But you are here testifying for the defense.
Yes, I am.
And you just testified that there are no injuries in NFL, college, or high schools running the tush push, right?
Yes, there is no injuries to the quarterback, especially not a spinal injury this severe.
Doctor, let's talk about why that might be the case. Doctor, you can't name a single NFL team that runs the tush push play the way that this defendant did.
No.
Doctor, you can't name a single college team that runs the tush push play the way that this defendant did.
No.
Doctor, you can't name a single high school that has run the tush push play the way that this defendant did.
Correct.
So speaking of defendants, Doctor, you've been hired in 120 cases.
Yes.
You've only testified for the defendant in those cases.
Yes.
And in this case, you knew Coach Powell before this trial.
Yes.
You and Coach Powell were friends.
Yes.
You and Coach Powell were good friends.
Yes.
And you're aware that Coach Powell was employed by this defendant when Marie got injured.
Yes, I was aware of that.
No, Doctor, if your good friend Coach Powell had called you before Marie got injured, you would have taken that call.
Depends on a lot of factors, yes.
Yeah, if he had questions about how his players could become injured, You have given him medical advice, right?
Yes, I mean, it depends on the question, but yes.
Dr. Coach Powell never called you before Marie was injured.
No.
Or texted you.
No.
This defendant called you only after they were sued.
Well, I was hired by the high school.
Yes, that's the defendant.
Then yes.
Yes, I know you're testifying that this defendant was reasonable,
Yes, they were reasonable.
that their conduct did not cause Marie's injury,
Yes.
that it was okay for them to participate, right?
Yes.
Because it's a first time for everything.
Yes.
Doctor, despite that, you yourself would not have recommended running this play the way that this defendant did.
No, but reasonable minds can differ on how to run a play. The purpose from everything I reviewed was to have the player avoid as much contact as possible. That's was reasonable.
So doctor, you have a reasonable mind,
Yes.
and your reasonable mind would not have run this play the way that this defendant did.
No.
No further questions.
Thank you, Counselor. Defense, any redirect,
Yes, Your Honor.
whenever you're ready.
Now, Dr. Adams, you were just asked on cross-examination whether you would run this play in the same way. Although you wouldn't run this play in the same way, did that make this play unreasonable?
No, as I was saying, reasonable minds can differ on how to run a football play. I'm not a football coach, but the way that this play was modified was for the player to get low and avoid contact. Based on everything I saw, reasonable modification.
That you were also asked about your relationship with Coach Powell. Did that impact your opinion or testimony today?
No, I would never jeopardize my job and credibility on one client.
Now, Doctor, you were also asked about the high schools that you found running this play. Of those high school students, did you find any injuries to those quarterbacks at those schools?
No, there was not a single one.
No further questions, Your Honor. May this witness be excused.
Plaintiffs, do you have any recross?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, witness makes the, thank you.
No, Your Honor. With that, the defense rests.
Okay, before we go into closing arguments, we will take another 5 or 6 minute break.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Oh, no. Actually, I'm not doing it. Is it one in winter times? Oh. Okay. Yeah, let's do it. It's a great book. Morning. We're just waiting for our time. Right back, we're in the back section, so we will proceed with the closing arguments. And plaintiff will go first. If you want to move or remove the bits before you begin.
This is great.
This is where you're, okay,
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to reserve the rest of my time that I don't use for rebuttal as well.
and that's fine. So whenever you're ready, you're closing argument.
Yes, Your Honor. It's okay to ask a quarterback to carry their team, but you can't literally put the weight of that team on a child's back. That play that this defendant order did exactly that. That play left Marie paralyzed. The coaches ordered a play that they knew was about to be banned. Play that no other team in the entire nation, not NFL, not college, not high school, was doing. Play that made a 14-year-old into a human spirit. The danger was in that difference. No one disputes today that football is a contact sport. No one disputes that people can get banged up in the game of football, even badly. But no school, especially one for a ninth grader, should be unreasonable when it designs and picks its plays. Sometimes coaches follow the rules. Sometimes they break them. You now know that they broke the most important one: keep the children safe. Members of the jury, this is a negligence case. What that means is that we just have to prove two things here today. That the way this defendant designed that play, making that child into a human sphere, is well reasonable under the circumstances, and that this caused his severe injuries. We have the burden to do that by what's called the preponderance of the evidence, and that's simple. Just means slightly more likely than not that they did this. The weight of a feather can make that difference. We've met our burden today. So let's just replay how this injury actually happened, because it all started at a meeting at a bar over drinks. Not at the coach's office, not at school, not while looking at play designs or game films. Those coaches left that meeting saying, you know what, we're gonna run a version of the tush push. And how did they make sure it'd be safe for a child to do? They didn't. Not a single conversation with another athletic trainer, director, coach on staff to try to get a second opinion. Not one provided that email saying that pushing plays were about to be banned to try to find out why. Not even a single Google search. Absolutely nothing. Not only that, but they went ahead and made a huge change to it to make it even more dangerous. Change that no team in the nation, not even in the NFL, had ever. A change that put Marik in a position to have his spine crushed. This is that play. You were shown this diagram over and over today, and you were able to see that Marik isn't just being pushed by these players behind him, he's being pushed into an oncoming line. Like this. This is how Klein wanted him. Klein also wanted him to get lower and lower and lower to the ground. They told him that. Every single practice. Coach Powell was forced to admit that to you on cross-examination. So you know it's true. August 20th, he's told, get lower. Be lower than Jalen Hurts. September 5th at the game, still not low enough. You heard Marik's words at the start of this case. He got yelled at for it. Threatened to be replaced because he just wasn't low enough. But September 9th, well, that day was a little bit different. Everyone in today's case agrees that that day, Marik was exactly as Coach Powell wanted him. His head, neck, and body were parallel to the ground, chin tucked to the chest, head pressed against the person in front of him, pushed by those three people behind, driven straight through that line to the bottom of a pile of 6 people. That is hundreds, if not 1,000 pounds of weight just sitting on a child's back. Let me say that again. That is hundreds, if not 1,000 pounds of weight just sitting on a child's back. But he was exactly as they wanted him. He never wore this uniform again. He was 14 years old. And don't forget, they ignored signs that this was going to be dangerous. All day today, they wanted to say that today's knowledge can't be yesterday's lesson. It was yesterday's knowledge. They had this knowledge before they made him do this. Because 4 days before, they actually saw him leaving the field grimacing, holding his back in pain. Assistant coach Al Clooney, he saw it. And he said nothing, did nothing, asked nothing. The other thing that they knew, the size of the player that Marie would be going up against. They picked those players. They were each double Marik's weight. Science and medicine also told you just how dangerous this play was. What did you learn about the spine today? Well, you learned that it's weaker in children, that when it's bent parallel to the ground like this, is exposed to more injury from behind. Now, our expert, Dr. Cotter, confirmed this. He told you that when you have players here, you have players here, you have one in the middle directly parallel, and that pressure is just coming in and coming in and coming in. Well, that is a recipe for disaster that you didn't just hear from Dr. Cotter. You also heard from the defense's doctor, Dr. Adams. Tried to tell you something different. You're entitled to believe one of them, the other, maybe some of both. But that's your power. Nobody today can tell you who to believe. But when you're deciding that, there's a few things you have to consider. One makes their living caring for children and for families. The other is a professional witness. One has written an article on this exact issue in a peer-reviewed medical journal. That means other experts, other scientists have looked at it and said, this is good science. The other's written nothing. And one knows absolutely no one here. The other is a good friend of the person that they're testifying for. Should also think about their opinions. Because Dr. Adams actually sat today, looked you in the eye and said, well, it's fine. Kids are smaller, so it's all good. Coming in. There was one thing that even he couldn't deny. But it wasn't the way he'd recommend running the play. What else did the defense try to tell you today? Well, they said that no quarterback in the NFL has ever been injured before, that it was still legal in the state. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. All of those things are true. But members of the jury, common sense alone tells you that things that might be safe for an adult to do aren't always safe for a child to do too. And remember, The play we're dealing with today isn't the tush push. Defendant changed it. They made it different. And the danger was in that difference. What else did they say? Well, they said Coach Clooney didn't say anything, didn't try to stop the play, and that means it's fine. Coach Clooney was examined or cross-examined at length about not speaking up. Members of the jury, are they forgetting that their client is Klein High School? And that every single coach's failure, every single trainer's inaction, including Coach Clooney, to keep that child safe, all goes back on them at the end of the day? This lawsuit isn't an attack on football. It's not an attack on NFL teams like the Eagles. This is about one dangerous play designed to slam a 14-year-old into a wall of defensemen double his size. One where absolutely no one said, let's get a second opinion. And that's not reasonable. It's negligent. And that's why when you go back and deliberate, you're going to get a verdict form. First question on that verdict form is, was the defendant negligent? For all of those reasons, your answer is yes. Then you're going to get to question 2, which says, did the defendant's negligence cause Marique's injury? He was in that position because they put him there. And that is something absolutely no one disputes. Your answer to 2 is yes. And then you'll be done. A lawyer's duty is to be honest with all of the facts. Present them to you honestly and logically. Hold me to that. But hold them to that too. When they get up here, see if they can stand here, look you in the eye and answer a question. See if they can really say that a coach who made a 5'2", 109-pound child into a human spear, going straight into people double his size, was seriously acting reasonably. When that answer comes, if it comes at all, or if it does and it just doesn't make sense, doesn't persuade you, tell them you know differently. Tell them that the danger was in the difference of the play they designed. Tell them they broke rule number 1. Protect the children. Because battering rams don't belong on football fields, and a 14-year-old kid should never be used as one. Tell them that with a verdict that says the responsibility is yours. Klein, you were negligent, and your negligence harmed Marique. Find them liable.
Thank you, counsel. Defense, your closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you want to do anything with the exhibits or?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, that's fine. Sure, absolutely. Counsel, whenever you're ready.
May it please the court? Members of the jury. What happened to Marique on September 9th of 2024 was an absolute tragedy. No one today has or ever will try to convince you otherwise. In our hearts, they go out to Marique and the New Barnes family. As my co-counsel mentioned at the beginning of this trial, liability, it can't just be based on sympathy. today's knowledge can't be yesterday's lesson. That's why the plaintiff failed to meet their burden. Because Coach Powell was reasonable. Because Coach Powell didn't breach his duty to keep Marique safe because running this play was reasonable. How had the evidence shown? The evidence had shown this through the coach's actions and the expert's analysis. So let's break that down, starting with the coach's actions. Now, today, you learned about the quarterback sneak push. Now, it was described today as the spear play and as the battery ram play, but members of the jury, that's not the play that we saw at all. Now, yes, you did hear that Coach Powell had described this play as being a battering ram or a spear. But members of the jury, Coach Powell is a ninth grade football coach. He told Marique this in order for Marique to know how low he should get. Not because he wanted to be an actual spear or battering ram, because spears are thrown. Battery rams are picked up, and you heard no evidence today that either of those things happened to Marique. No, the way that this play was designed was for the quarterback to go in between the offensive line. Now we know that the Eagles, the way they run this play is by going over the offense. But Coach Powell took actions because Coach Powell recognized that Marique was smaller. Marique was too small to go over. Marique would get hit. But Coach Powell did modify the play by having Marique go in between. Now, the plaintiff, they want you to believe that Marique was facing this entire line of defensive players whose only objective was to go after the quarterback. Members of the jury, you see this play. Marique also had an entire team of players who were looking to protect. Members of the jury, this is football. The entire objective of the game is to protect the quarterback and is to get the ball. We don't disagree with that. But we know that Coach Powell's actions were reasonable because Coach Powell's actions to keep his quarterback safe. Coach Powell wasn't the only coach that you heard today. We heard from Coach Clooney as well. The plaintiff just mentioned that, yes, Coach Clooney didn't do anything in those days when this play was being run. And that wasn't to show that Coach Clooney didn't care about the players. We heard from Coach Clooney himself today. He did care about his football players. He had been the offensive coordinator for 10 years. No, Coach Clooney didn't say anything to Marique's parents or to the Pennsylvania Athletic Association because not even Coach Clooney could foresee an injury this severe from happening. So when Coach Powell implemented this play, and when Coach Clooney failed to raise any concerns, it's because an injury this severe wasn't foreseeable. This makes the coach's actions reasonable. Why does it matter that only the coaches of Thomas R. Klein High School thought it was reasonable? Well, that an injury this severe wouldn't happen. They weren't the only ones that thought that an injury this severe could happen. Because you learned today that, yes, the Pennsylvania Athletic Association, or the PAA, we're going to ban this play in 2025. But that vote took place in May of 2024. Now, common sense tells us that if the Pennsylvania Athletic Association, the organization in charge of determining the reasonableness and the safety of this play, if they thought for a second that a player, that a child could be paralyzed for the rest of his life, they wouldn't have waited an entire season to ban the play. They would have banned it immediately. And that ban, once it went into effect, there would have been substantial penalties for violating it. But you learned today that the penalty for violating this ban, 5 yards. Members of the jury, that's just 15 feet for running this play. This shows that the organization that's in charge of the safety, they thought that running this play was reasonable. And if the organization thought that running this play was reasonable, how can the plaintiff ask you to find that the coaches were acting unreasonable? They can't. Because Coach Powell and Coach Clooney and Thomas R. Klein High School were following the rules that were set by their state. They were following the rules when running this play. And you also learned today that this play was also run in the NFL and the collegiate level as well. And when this play was run, in the hundreds of times that it was run, 0 injuries to a quarterback, 0 injuries to any player's spine. And Coach Powell knew this. Thomas R. Klein High School knew this. But when they ran a play that they seen had been run without injuries to a quarterback, without injuries, a player paralyzed, they were acting reasonably. Now, this brings us to that second point, the expert's analysis. Now, you heard from Dr. Adams today, who said that because of the low weight of these players, because of the low speed of this play, this was a low impact play. It was unreasonable to believe that such a severe injury could occur from such a low impact play. Yes, you also heard from Dr. Cotter today. And Dr. Cotter told you that because of the underdeveloped spines of these players, that this play was more dangerous. Members of the jury, we do agree that football is an inherently dangerous sport, and that these 9th graders are smaller. But this is why these 9th graders have their own teams, why they're not on varsity or on junior varsity, because they are small, because their bodies need time to develop. Members, you heard today from Dr. Carter that this play was unreasonable, that this school should never have run this play. And immediately after, Dr. Carter told you that they weren't qualified to suggest a ban for this play. What had changed in the time between the article was written and their testimony today? Is at the time that this article was written, no player had been injured because it was unreasonable to think that an injury this severe could happen. That's why common sense tells us that that's why Dr. Cotter didn't suggest a ban and why he's telling you today that it's unreasonable. Because an injury this severe had never happened. Members of the jury, today's knowledge can't be yesterday's lesson. The plaintiff talked about yesterday's knowledge. Yesterday's knowledge tells us that this play had been run hundreds of times in the NFL, hundreds of times at the collegiate level, with 0 injuries like this ever happening. Yesterday's knowledge told us that Coach Powell and Coach Clooney were running a play that they thought would keep their quarterback safe in that time. Yes, the answer to the question is yes. Coach Clooney and Thomas R. Klein High School and Coach Powell were acting reasonably. Because today's knowledge can't be yesterday's lesson. Find Thomas R. Klein High School not liable. Thank you.
Thank you, Council.
Your Honor, before rebuttal, we have to put something on the record. Opposing counsel talked at length about Dr. Cotter not suggesting a ban. That testimony was stricken from the record after we made a timely objection. That's facts, not in evidence, and we moved to strike all of that from the record.
Counsel, you respond.
Dr. Cotter did not suggest a ban of this play. I listened to their testimony, Your Honor. They never once suggested that a ban of this play should happen.
Okay, I will grant the motion.
Yes.
And instruction to the jury will be made to disregard that statement within the defense closing argument.
Yes, Your Honor. Rebuttal?
Yes.
They just told you that football is an inherently dangerous game. Okay? Well, then they picked a play to make a dangerous game even more dangerous. The fact that football is dangerous, but the fact that the penalty is only 15 yards isn't a free pass to run an experiment. With this child, make him their guinea pig. There had been no injuries on the tush push before, but this play I heard was the only time it was ran the way Coach Powell wanted. They talked a lot about the rules. It wasn't illegal in Pennsylvania, still allowed. Did they even mention the most important one? The one that Coach Powell admitted to on the stand during my cross-examination. The number one rule in freshman football is to keep the children safe. Their silence on that speaks volumes. Find them liable.
Then counsel. All right, with that, the trial is concluded. If everybody could just step outside while we tabulate and submit our scores for a few minutes. And we'll bring you back into his comments. Thank you. Doctor.
And then let me know when you guys submit, and we'll focus on the all clear, grab it.
Sure, yeah, just keep in mind.
I submitted mine too.
Mine's submitted.